Good afternoon. Hello, and I thank you for your time and the opportunity to be able to speak. I am in opposition of Bill 207, AB 286, because I myself am a felon. I'm in opposition of this bill because I feel that it disenfranchises myself as well as the next generation behind me. I've worked in many fields of employment, loved working, was very active with the PTA, Milwaukee Public Schools, and fundraising, and I enjoyed that. Because of my felony conviction, I am hesitant to go and volunteer and be active at the schools in which I had did before. My employment has been challenged drastically as a felon. I went to school initially for pharmacy technician. Because of my felony, I'm unable to renew my license as a pharmacy technician. So instead of getting discouraged, I went back to school. I went to Waukesha Tech as well as MATC and got licensed for CNC machining. I loved that job. I loved my job. I offered no harm or hurt to my coworkers. I worked hard at being an outstanding citizen, with keeping my credit intact, and with me being challenged now with my machine shop being closed down and being laid off from machining, it's hard to go back and say, hey, as a woman who has limited experience, I've only worked in this field 5 years, but before my application is even considered, the fact that I'm a felon bars me from this work. I really wish that it would be considered, or at least a hearing in Milwaukee to inform others, allow us the opportunity to be gainfully employed. It is my heart's desire to be a productive citizen. It is what I value when I teach my children to be productive citizens, to stay away from criminal element and activity. Me being a felon keeps me away from other activities that would help not be a financial burden, i.e. I'm ineligible for low-income housing. I am ineligible for assistance from legal aid because as a felon. There's so many other barriers that make life complicated, and all that I ask is the opportunity to be a good parent, continue generating good quality citizens, and encourage my child who is in college. Hey, baby, do your best, keep fighting, don't make the mistakes that mommy made. My objective is to have the next generation not make the decision that I made. Also, I don't want a decision that I made 10 years ago to hinder my quality of life in the future. I thank you for your time and have a great day.
So, Ms. Wicker, can I ask you just a quick question? So, are you laid off from your CNC job now?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so now you're back in the process of looking for other jobs.
I have been, yes, sir, diligently looking, but as I stated, I had less than 5 years in that field. That field is mainly for men who have longevity in that area. But when I went in to even apply for other machine shops, me being a female, and that's not typically a general field of work, but I went to that field of work because as a felon, I wasn't barred. They weren't as harsh with the employment process, whereas if I was to go to a bank or if I wanted to go back to a daycare center, I have friends who own their own businesses. I've chosen not to work in their area because I don't want them to have any backlash. Hey, you have a felon in here cooking in your kitchen. I'll run from certain areas to not bring in that backlash, but I'll run to an area where I can be productive and make a quality wage. When I worked, I was able to clear up my credit score. That was beautiful to not have to apply for energy assistance for a couple of years. But with me being unemployed, I'm in school full time. That I did do. I went back to school again when I got laid off to pursue business management, hoping that someone would consider me. Hey, if I'm not unable to go back into the machine shop, consider me for the buyer aspect of machining. Because with me having knowledge of the castings and the different companies, I felt like I would probably be an asset to a company. But with me not being actually on a machine and more so in an office, that if they're not bonded or insured to keep a felon, that also hinders me being able to work productively.
May I ask you what your criminal offense was?
Yes, sir, you can. I spanked my children harshly. I didn't break anything. I left bruises.
Okay.
But I was a teen mom. I have been parenting and in my own home since I was 17 years of age. I did go back to school and get my high school degree, my high school diploma. I also, like as I stated, I went back to school for other things to strengthen myself because I had already put a barrier on myself with being a teen parent. But I didn't want to get stuck in the generational curse of welfare because my family is not a generational welfare family. We've always been hard workers. My mother retired from Ryerson Steel. So after 28 years of working, my parents were married for 30 years. So I've been shown what quality of life is. I had a lapse in my correct judgment, and I paid for it. I spanked the girls. I bust my butt to get them back. I met all the requirements that the judge asked me to do. I went above and beyond. I took additional counseling, AODA, and I don't have an AODA issue, but the judge made it a requirement, and I gladly did it and took additional steps to say, hey, I am a good parent. I spanked them. I was wrong. I shouldn't have did that. But hey, when you come to my home, I haven't been homeless. I haven't had to go to the shelter since age 17. I worked 2 jobs when I dropped out of school. And then I went back to school because I knew I needed the education to even be able to get ahead. I'm trying to continue to not get discouraged or go into a area that's negative or that's counterproductive to what a good citizen would be. But I do not need the hindrance before I can even get the opportunity to prove myself and show my qualifications.
So you're working with workforce development now?
I worked with workforce. DVR was also
DVR? Okay.
a beautiful asset because if it wasn't for DVR assisting me, I wouldn't have been able to afford the tools that I needed to even go into the trade industry.
So you are working with them, all right?
Yeah, I've worked with them.
Okay.
But it's 1,000,001 other people. There are women who have their degrees that aren't and don't have the challenge of being a felon or having a past criminal background, and they're helped before I am. But outside of working with DVR and the Wisconsin Initiative, I am a full-time student again.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions by the committee? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.